the floor has dropped for sure. Like, no doubt in my mind. We at Zephyr for the last decade have hosted practicum students in undergrad and graduate school, chewing through their hours so they can graduate. So one of the proudest things I've done as a professional is to host and mentor these grad students into the career, take them from newbie to fledgling to fully licensed. And what I've seen over time is it's just a really sad erosion of what basic concept of mental health looks like. Like, I'm not going to say that everybody falls into this bucket. Okay. So there's my disclaimer. It's not all, right? But the overwhelming majority seem to be more concerned with niceties than healing. And so what we've lost is the ability to be confrontational with people who have ailments and actually hold a mirror up to them, because we're more concerned about pain and pain avoidance without any attention to the idea that going into disequilibrium is uncomfortable and is also required for growth. We're more interested in keeping people in their equilibrium because we don't want to, quote unquote, cause more harm by inflicting, quote unquote, pain, which then, I keep doing the air quotes for the listening audience if you're not watching on video, but like the quote unquote pain caused by the disequilibrium into which we'd push them if we could challenge their beliefs and their ideas is tantamount to harm, which tantamount to abuse, and therefore you're going to get your license revoked. And that's literally the logic of these folks coming out of grad schools. They're just skittish and timid. Nobody wants to take a swing at saying, hey, maybe what you're doing is not working for you anymore. Like, we don't possess that language. We're tap dancing around niceties. And I believe, you got a book behind you called The Woke Mind, which I could probably take a guess at the contents of. I think I understand that postmodern deconstructionism has resulted in this degradation of the profession. And what I mean when I say postmodern deconstructionism is postmodernism is the idea that nothing is real. Everything is a construct of a construct. We make up our own belief systems and values as we go along, and they're not rooted in anything, and there is no truth. Okay. Well, that's a nice thought experiment for somebody who's stuck in binary thinking, because we can dislodge them from the black and white and say, hey, look at all the gray. But you don't live there. Eventually, you have to establish some standard for yourself, and that becomes your new thesis. And this is like Hegel stuff, like, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, right? And then the synthesis becomes the new thesis, and it spins off. And anybody who studies this should know. I don't even think we're teaching that anymore, because every time I ask somebody about systemic theory, they just look at me like I have a hole in my head. And this includes the marriage and family people. So we don't have a market cornered on systems. But the point is that this has now been put into policy on many levels. And at minimum, it's an encouragement.